an investor. So please clap for him.
Does this work? Yes. Great. It's great to be here, friends. So I'm Niklas Anzinger. I'm one of the co-founders of Vitalia, together with Lawrence Iron, who's here in the audience. We have a fantastic organizing team that I want to thank for putting this together, first of all. And another key part, the key part of the Vitalia community is its builders, meaning all of you that are in this room. So a round of applause for you all to be here. So what is Vitalia? In one sentence, it's a city that builds longevity companies. And it's centered around one commandment. We're here to make death optional. Thank you. Why? So longevity, death, is the defining question of our mortal existence. If we are no more, then it has no meaning. And there's a real chance that we could reach what Aubrey de Grey, who's also here in the audience, called longevity escape velocity. In fact, with the technology and science that we have, he gives it a 50% chance that we'll reach that point by 2036. However, there's a very big problem. And the problem has to do with governance, which is the reason why we're here in Próspera. Biotech development is strangulated. And the most indicative measure of it is new drug development. So you all heard of Moore's law, the doubling of computing power every 2 years, I think. The reverse of that is Ehrum's law. It's actually the exact reverse that happened for drug development. This is a log scale, as we see, right? So it's gotten down more than 100x, despite all the new technology and development we have, despite Moore's law, despite computational biology, despite the Human Genome Project. There's something wrong with the governance layer. That is a strong conviction that we have at Vitalia. So we, just as Joseph said in the beginning, see ourselves as building a new startup society that's not reforming the existing institution, but can eventually, through partnership. So our strategy is one where we add a new frontier, where we can work from a different legal system, like the one that's provided here in Próspera. And our strategy is to build a decentralized city that's composed of longevity districts. Right now, our plan is to build 3 to 5 districts in different locations. The reason for that is to reduce the single point of failure risk, same as Próspera, right, being multi-jurisdictional. And also take advantage of specialization. Use locations that are good for medical tourism or that have a large amount of talent or funding available. So Próspera is the best one to start in. That's why we're here. It has the maximum degree of legal autonomy. It's also a great location for medical tourism. But we also spend time in Montenegro, Zanzibar. Uruguay is very well known for biotech, biopharma-focused production. And also the United States has innovative states like Montana, which adopted a right-to-try legislation that's going further than before. So since I'm at a Crypto Cities conference, I believe you'll understand the analogy that I'm giving for what Vitalia is. So as our friend Balaji has said here, Próspera is a layer 1, and Vitalia is a layer 2. So there's also a layer 0. So layer 0 is philosophy, legal, governance, the accumulated wisdom and experience that we encode in language and in real laws. So Tom W. Bell's ULEX is a great example. So that is a repository of common law best practices that's available on GitHub, open source. It is, in fact, the kernel for Próspera's legal system and for the legal system of the Catawba Digital Economic Zone. That's the layer 0. Oops. Próspera is a layer 1. It's a governance platform that uses the online innovation, the digital innovation, laws are digital, in the physical world. So they have land. Dubai is also a layer 1. Maybe Praxis becomes a layer 1 if they get a commitment to be on land. And then Vitalia is a layer 2. We're a platform that builds an industry based on community. So our main role is to reduce transaction costs. That's what layer 2s do. So more applications can be built on top of the layer 1s. What kind of applications, or how does that transaction cost reduction look like? What if we could reduce the time that it takes to bring drugs to market to 4 months instead of 10 years? I get asked about this all the time. Isn't this too much? No. Like pre-1962, that number was 6 months. The FDA had a self-imposed deadline of 6 months to approve a new drug. And it wasn't like anarchy or anything like that before, right? There were still safety trials. There was still a market regulatory framework. And with a mentality of Operation Warp Speed, be able to iterate fast, especially with computational biology, we could go even faster. And what if we spent only something in the millions instead of in the billions? Again, that's possible. We have one fantastic case study here by our friends from minicircle that have proved that model. So they're basically an application that built on the layer 1, on the Próspera legal system, to do follistatin gene therapy. They did a safe phase 1 safety clinical trial under supervision by the GARM clinic. So they're actually following the Maya principle, most advanced yet accepted, because these safety trials are compliant with FDA and WHO. And then they're able to provide their product through medical tourism. So one of their first patients, who's going to be here with us from later today on, as you might have heard, is this man here, Brian Johnson, who took the therapy here on the island. So that is proving the model that we want to build, sort of help build hundreds, thousands of more mini-circles that bring life-saving drugs to market. So how our strategy looks like, right now we do the first pop-up city. And I'll talk about this in a second. The pop-up city is basically our seeding strategy. Our goal for the first pop-up city is to incubate at least 15 companies or meaningfully accelerate existing companies on the layer 2 basically. And we also want to build a community here of permanent residents that are staying here. And in 10 years, we want to have 3 to 5 districts, thousands of new products, hundreds of thousands of residents, hundreds of billions in equity and land, and have added 1 trillion healthy life years. Again, does it sound crazy? Maybe, but it's basically encapsulating the idea of we've reached longevity escape velocity, because at that point, there is no, the limit is pushed. So the first pop-up city, that's where you're in right now. So you might have captured some of that spirit already. If you haven't yet, you will at the block party that's probably going to take place tomorrow. We have bonfires here. We have cuddle puddles. We have these games that we play together. We have talks here by Brian Johnson and this conference here. We do potluck dinners together. We do art together. Right? So that's part of creating a culture in a new society. Most of all, if I had to say, well, what's the product of Vitalia? What's like the VC fundable case? How do we productize what Vitalia is? I would say we're creating a new playbook. Right now, when you're a biotech company, the playbook is you do research for 10 plus years and then sell to big pharma. And at that point, you have to sell to big pharma because at that point you would compete with them on distribution. And you shouldn't compete with big players on distribution. That's the one thing they're strong in. Don't compete with Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson on distribution. So you really have no choice. That playbook is locked into the current market because basically of the clinical trial system coupled with IP. So we want to develop a new playbook where we have a new set, a better set, a more elegant, more rational set of rules and regulations. There's actually new regulations out there, the GARM health regulations and the minicircle regulations that can be templates for future companies. So that playbook that we imagine is that you can get to market much faster and iterate, have customers much earlier, build your own distribution. This is what Vitalia is there for. This is the layer 2 principle, how we reduce transaction costs and just accelerate the time that we can have the drugs, the treatments, but also a lot of health is about incentive design, right? So we also want to build insurance companies. Crypto is very crucial for that in terms of how you govern institutions like that as well. This is why we also have this crypto summit that is a crucial part of what we're trying to build here. So the product right now and how it looks, one is the pop-up city itself. So if you're inspired by what you're seeing and want to stay a bit longer, you can sign up here if you haven't already. I believe not everyone who's at the conference has done that, but stay with us longer. We extend it, in fact, to April 1st. And afterwards, there's also going to be a permanent community, so Vitalia is forever. And also, we've started a startup accelerator and investment program. So if you have a startup, and if you want your startup to be considered for funding by Vitalia and its partners, and we're going to build this partnerships program, then sign up here. And other things that we have as a works in progress is also a program for investors to be able to invest in the applications that are on this layer 2. We're also building a ZK identity stack, right, to the Crypto Cities part. So we will be able to integrate Zupas, kind of become out of the Zuzalu ecosystem and are able to use some of that infrastructure. I still have 4 minutes, right? I have this timer. Okay. Also, we want to build an MVP for a district. Right now, we're thinking that's residential space, a clubhouse, and its signature building. And also productize basically the stack, right? So you're adopting, this legal framework. You have this company incorporated here. Here's kind of your crypto financial stack. So that is Vitalia. I'm really glad that you've made this journey. And let's join together to make death optional. Thank you.